We're starting a new series. It's experimental. The idea here is to learn the Beis HaLaivi of that week's parsha, even though it's only Sunday, so we get a head start. But it'll give us some food for thought on that week's parsha. The whole week through, we'll have to think about. And I have found, I don't think the only one, but I have found the Beis HaLaivi to be very geschmack. It's enjoyable. You get to see, you get to taste somebody who has such a breadth of knowledge throughout Medrash and the Zohar and the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim, and he draws from all of it the most beautiful and essential ideas that he brings out within these parashiyos and Sefer Bereshis and Sefer Shemais. And unfortunately, he didn't write on the parashiyos after that. So just Bereshis and Shemais. The Sefer Bereshis and Sefer Shemais should take us for a while. Beautiful discussions he has on Hanukkah as well. Okay, today's discussion is about Bris Milah. The Beis HaLaivi. Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, the father, the scion of the dynasty, of the Brisker dynasty. Now, it really started from Rav Chaim Brisker, who was his son, but so the Beis HaLaivi, we're going to speak more about. We'll give him more of a historical sketch on him next time. But now you got to taste his Torah, okay? And the Torah you'll whet your appetite, and then we'll get to know more about the Beis HaLaivi next time. He's known also for his Tshuvas Beis HaLaivi, Shas Tshuvas Beis HaLaivi, and it seems to me that he was a very gifted writer. You'll see there's certain Rishonim and Achronim. You know, if you pick up a Maral, even though the Maral is so deep, but his writing flows and so geschmack to read. Or if you're learning a sugya and you want to go through the Kilas Yaakov, in recent times, a stipler, and you see somebody had a talent to write so beautifully. So the Beis HaLaivi, you'll see, he sets it down, even though he writes in his Akdama that he wasn't gifted as an orator. I don't know if it's true or not, but he wants that people who are giving drashas, that they should use his what he's writing, because he wasn't gifted to be an orator. That's what he writes, and he doesn't mind if you don't quote him. You say it over.
He was gifted in Anivas.
That definitely. Okay, so we're gonna. Most of it we're going to explain point by point, but we're going to read it inside. We'll do a drop of skipping if I feel that it's too complicated in that area. Okay, the first idea, the pasuk in the parasha is Lech Lecha ve'yetamim ve'etna brisi beini u'veinecha. So Hashem is telling Avraham Avinu that He's going to give him a bris milah, but what he says to him is, go walk before me and you will be tamim, shalem, complete. And then I will give, Hashem says, my bris between me and between you. And the Beis HaLaivi is going to discuss that there's really two parts of this pasuk. The first half is Halech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. That's one half of the bris milah. And the second part, ve'etna brisi beini u'veinecha. Now, just briefly, the bris milah, physically, there's chitoch and there's priya. We're going to see more about this. But I don't know if you're weak-hearted, but if you're not, you could go watch a bris milah. Next time you're there, you look up close, and there's more than one step to it. The first step is chitoch, is the removal of the arla, of the foreskin of the makam milah, called foreskin, and in Hebrew called arla, and that's covering over the Rosh Torah. The Torah is called the crown, and then there's another membrane or thinner skin that's still covering, and that's, we could call it tzitzin, ma'akvinas, Milah, but we call it priya. So if you watch the moyel, he'll pull back some membrane to uncover the to fully uncover the skin underneath, and that's the final step. Those are two steps: gei chitoch and priya. We're going to get more into the deeper meaning of that.
The priya he cuts off? Or
the priya sometimes has to be cut off. I was speaking to Rabbi Kahananu, who's a mile this morning. Very often it doesn't have to be cut off. It just has to be pulled back, and it heals that way without being actually cut. There's already some severing beforehand that makes it accessible to pull it back. And it's a thin membrane. Okay, so now let's go more into philosophical. Hinei, the Iker Mitzvahs Milah Chaku Rabbi Shainim Zal, the earlier commentaries had a discussion, a query. They want to know something basic about Milah. Imu begeder asaras hachesaron da'arlahu mum be'adam ha'Yisraeli of a Milah mafridim es hachesaron mimenu. Okay, this is the first possibility. A man has imperfection, and Milah is removing imperfection from man. Okay, we'll call it like a mum. A carbon has a mum, a blemish. This is something that Hashem made on a person, but it's an imperfection, and He wants us to remove it, and thereby...
That's why the women say they're perfect, because they don't have to do that.
Okay, created perfect. But man was created imperfect, and Hashem wants us to perfect ourselves, to remove the imperfection, and that's the arla. Or the other possibility is, Im hu aisavas Milah kedusha. Is it something that's not just a removal of the negative, but it's adding something that's elevating man to something, a Milah kedusha. Kumay kol mitzvah say shem bekum v'aseh shem lahosef Milah kedusha l'umma Yisraelis. Like we have many positive commandments, that the commandment is that we do something and we elevate ourselves, or mekadesh ourselves, we draw ourselves closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and connect ourselves in that way. And so the two possibilities is arla something negative and we remove it, and then we're back to our shlemos, tamid, perfect, remove the imperfection, or is it something that's actually positive and elevating and lifting us back up from being just at ground level? We're going to be something higher, like a regular mitzvah saseh. Okay, and then the Beis HaLaivi says something. I don't know, which one would you say? He says you don't have to choose. He says you could say it's both. Ube'emes yesh b'hani shnei inyanim elu yachad, k'mo shekosav bal hakeda zal b'parasha zu. Okay, now he brings some earlier commentators, Malakeda, and that is both. And he's going to prove it from a Mishnah in the Darim, and the Mishnah basically is speaking about, there's a beautiful sugya there of all the wonderful aspects of Bris Milah. And the Mishnah pinpoints both aspects, the negative side and the positive side here. And the first part that he brings says in the Mishnah Darim, Ma'usa hiya arla, shenis chulu, and he doesn't quote the interim, shenis ganu ba'akusim. The Gentiles, they are, their genai is like a genus, is something negative, put down, that they're described negatively because that they have this imperfection. Shenemar kikola goyim arilim. He quotes the pasuk. Hooray! We see the himum the davar mos ad the meganim balikusim. Okay, so we see if it's a genai, it's a genus, so we're removing this negative aspect. That definitely has. But it also says in the same Mishnah, Ayd Isa Sham the Mishnah, Gedayla hi Milah, Shenichus alav Yud Gimel Brisais. That there were 13 covenants. It says the word Bris in connection to Bris Milah 13 times. So we see the word 13 Brises.
So why, if you're born mile, you're complete, why do you have to do anything?
Because of the second aspect, I guess. In other words, if a person's born mole, they don't have the arla, but if there's another aspect of entering into a covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of binding ourselves and elevating the Jewish people to be in a covenant, so we do something called Hatavas Dam Bris, which is there's much less bleeding than a regular Bris Milah, but it's just a little nick that there's some dam there, and the dam of the Bris, we say B'damaya chayi, right? That is the dam of the Bris.
Everything?
Yeah.
You say everything as
I
normal?
believe so. Yes. I don't know if I've ever seen it done. But yeah.
Usually with an adult.
Well, it's more common with an adult that's being Megayer, and or if the bris wasn't done in the hospital before they were religious, and it wasn't necessarily even done by a Jewish doctor. Now they want to do a bris milah, so then they'll do Hatavas Dam Bris. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we go on now. So he says it's both. We have both. Hashem's taking away from us the imperfection, and we're also entering in to this Yud Gimel Brises. And now we get back to the pasuk that has two aspects in the same pasuk.
Are you going to tell us what the Yud Gimel Brises is?
Not each one specifically, but the Yud Gimel Brises means that
What are two or three?
I can't even tell you two or three. So yes, the one is what says Beferish in the Torah, that the bris that Hashem is binding Klal Yisrael with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we have this relationship, that we are going to be the people of Hashem. His name is going to be called on Avram, and then his children after him, and his children after him. It's a multi-generational bris.
Okay, so just but that I thought.
And this was given to Avram before he had Yitzchak.
Right. So I just don't want to show my foolishness here, but I never heard of the Yud Gimel Brises, or the Yud Gimel, and that's why I wanted to know what they were. And that one sounds like that Yud Gimel, the one that you just described, was specifically with Abraham. It doesn't have anything to do with Zale.
Well, since Zale is the offspring of Avram, and this is a bris that was given.
I am the reward for. That's the bris between the Kodesh Baruch Hu and Abraham. I am the proof of the bris.
Right, and when you enter into that bris, when you have your bris milah, so now you are also being a forever connected to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and
that's
different.
That's not my Yud Gimel with Kodesh Baruch Hu.
No, but you are just as much within the bris. You're part of the. It's like.
No, I know I'm part of it. No, I'm not arguing that part. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to understand what's my Yud Gimel with the Kodesh Baruch Hu.
Right. What I think that I don't think the Gemara explains what all 13 are, but what it does say is that since the word bris is said 13 times, it's not just a review that there was one bris and now it's just being reviewed, but each one is like another level of connection with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That Hashem saying, again, there's a bris. There's 13 brises, all binding Klal Yisrael with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu through our bris milah.
Okay, and to lose it, and which pointing out is that it's not a regular, like everybody in this room except for me knows what these are.
No, exactly.
Okay,
exactly. It could be that if you study the Zohar or you study something deeper, you'll find out what their 13 levels of it are. I don't know. Okay. Now, the pasuk says two aspects. The first one is the completion and the perfection of man through removal of imperfection, and that's hishalich lefanai. V'zeh shamar kasuv hishalich lefanai v'hayei. And then va'etna brisi amar le'shnei dvarim. He said to him two aspects. To mashma'usa shal tamim, the understanding of tamim. Tamim means complete. Who b'loi mum, without any blemish. V'amar loi, so he said, Hashem told Avram, Shebemila yusar mimenu hamum shel arla, v'tumasa, v'yiatamim, the the blemish and this imperfection and this, we'll call it impurity, that the Arla has with it is going to be removed and you'll be complete. The Amar Oid, and he also said in another aspect, that I'll put my covenant between me and between you. Through this bris, you're going to get bumped up. You're going to be extra kedusha, Milah, the ba. And what is that? What is that extra kedusha? Through this, we're going to have a covenant and a connection to be bound. That's our kedusha. Our kedusha is being bound with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the source of all kedusha. Milah, okay. Who I saw kedusha, and that's the extra kedusha. Okay, now we're going to skip the next part. There's the next paragraph. So what we learned so far is this dual aspect of Bris Milah, the Klal Yisrael, on the one hand has, we'll call it the Sor Meirah, the removal of something imperfect and of negativity, and then the, like we have in all mitzvahs and a say type, that we actually are being elevated and being uplifted through our being bound to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now comes the Beis HaLaivi's chiddush. Until now, he said his chiddush is that he's putting it into the pasuk and what was already said from earlier commentators. Now, and he's going to prove it, but he says that this actual two aspects that we said before of the chitoch and the priya, that is, those are these two aspects, and this is going to get very interesting here. These two bechinas, like an aspect, these two levels are in the chitoch, the cutting, and the priya, the uncovering. The chitoch of the membrane underneath, that's the final covering. The chitoch hu asaras me'alav ha'arla uvazem maiti atman mikol ha'krisim shenikra arelim kikol ha'gayim arelim v'chitoch hu mavdal atman mehem. The first one is the chitoch, and that's separating a Jew from a non-Jew. All the gayim are called arelim, and you become no longer an arel who still has this arla on him. You're different. You're separate. You don't have that negative connotation that the Goyim have called arelim. But then the second step is the priya v'la'is bris kaidesh, and that is what we're familiar. We're going to see. He brings the bracha of the ois bris kaidesh, and ois is like a sign that Hashem gives us of a bris kodesh, of a covenant that's holy, l'skasher, l'skadesh, v'kedushas Yisrael, and that actually elevates us, connects us to have the kedusha of Klal Yisrael, the Yas'an Echad, that we are all one and one with Hashem. And on this extra level, we make the bracha, and this is the bracha that we make by Bris Milah. And what is the lashon of the bracha? Bris Milah, it's Tzetzav. We say the lashon of Tzetzav every morning in the bracha Bereshis HaTorah. Tzetzainu, Tzetzainu, some say, and that means my offspring. And it's the bracha is that Hashem gave the Bris Milah to Klal Yisrael, to Avraham Avinu and his offspring. It's a chosam, signed, Hashem sealed the Ois Bris Kaidesh. Now, so says the Beis HaLaivi, a chasima, a sign, a signature, is like the final touch. So the final touch of the Bris Milah is the priya, and that's hachaysim shel bris ba ayedei priya, and that is the extra level, the kedusha, that every Jew is signed with the signature of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and different, not only different from the Umais, but then he has that extra level of the priya. And now he's going to share with us his knowledge. So this was, until now, he's saying this on his own, but he's going to say that he's going to back it up from the Zohar. Okay? Somebody asks you what you learned this morning, you tell him you learned from Zohar. Everyone, this generation likes that they learn the whatever background they are, whatever level they are, purity. They want to learn Zohar. They want to learn the secrets of the Kabbalah. And okay, so here we have a little bit of that here. And what you see is, the beautiful thing about drush is that besides the actual essential point that's being made, there's also other important yisodos, fundamentals that are thrown in explanation of the point. And now, as we're seeing, the main point we're going to see from the Zohar is there's two aspects: that there's priya, and that there's chituch, and that there's the one aspect of removing the negative, the arla, and the next aspect of having a sign and being bound to the Kodesh Baruch Hu and elevated. But there's something else very interesting that the Zohar is going to tell us about what's going on in Shemayim during the Bris Milah. Okay. That's what pasuk it's on. Okay, in Parashat B'Shalach. So, even though we're learning Parashat Lech Lecha now, we're borrowing from sources, other places, and it says here, Al Disparu Yisrael Bisgalia B'Hu Eis Rishima Kadisha. Okay, this uses the word priya, which means to uncover and to remove the covering membrane, but it says in the same pasuk to Isgalia. Isgalia means to reveal, right? Isgalia, the Zohar is very hard wording because it's like learning Yerushalmi, right? It's the same Rishonos. Isgalia b'hu eis Rishima Kadisha, and Rishima is like a roshem, is a sign, some mark of Kadisha, of holiness. So here it says the word priya of uncovering, and it also says Kedusha. Now he's going to bring another Zayar called the Raya Mehimna, V'zelosh and Raya Mehimna, Parshas Tazria. Okay? Now Parshas Tazria is where right in the beginning of the parsha we have the mitzvah of Bris Milah again on the 8th day. Okay? And that's my bar mitzvah parsha, Parshas Tazria. Lucky for me, it's a short parsha. Okay, I was actually my bar mitzvah my birthday was 2 weeks earlier, but somebody else had the bar mitzvah parsha, so I didn't get to have the longer one. And sometimes Tazria and Mitzvah together, but that week it was divided up. A real bargain.
Well, there's who and he and the...
Oh yeah, that's confusing.
Drives you crazy.
The who's and the he's. Yeah. Okay, so it says, to take away that arla mikame bris, before the bris. At that time, that the nation, the holy nation, Hamakadisha, is gathered. Iskansha is the Knesset, like basic Knesset. La'abra, it's a gathering. La'abra hu arla, to remove that arla mikame bris, kutchabichu, from before the covenant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So at that time that the Jewish people are gathered around by the time of the bris and the removal of the arla. Kol kol pamalia shamala, there's a gathering in Shemayim as well. The pamalia shamala, the heavenly bodies, the heavenly court is gathered. Who zimna is dakya hi arla, and at that time that arla is pushed away. Mikol Ama Kadisha is totally removed from the holy nation, that we don't have this tamei, impurity anymore. And it's removed not only down here in a physical sense, but in a spiritual sense, it's removed from us. Mikol Ama Kadisha la'ela, on high above. Hu arla misakna, and then and for that arla we set aside. Now this just sounds back down to earth. They take a small vessel with dirt in it and they put it there. Who arla begava, to put the arla in it. And I'm sure there's something deep about that, about returning it to the earth. The man was taken from the earth and putting the arla back. Okay, I'm not going to go there now. But this is what we see. The first step, removal of the arla, and that's very special. We're gathered, and all Shemayim is gathered together, and we're removing this impurity from Klal Yisrael. V'apriya hu his galos osa bris. is the uncovering of that sign the Jewish people are signed with Hashem has. And that's our link to the next generation. Each Jew has that. Okay. And Avram got that before he had Yitzchak. Now he brings a medrash. What time is it? 10 past. Okay, we have more time still. So the medrash says now he's picking out just two parts of the medrash in this week's parsha, but we're going to see the two aspects in it. And the one, the medrash says like this. It's Medrash Rabbi. You can find it if you look in Parashat Lech Lecha, in the Parashiyos of Bris Milah. You can find this medrash. I saw it last night. And like I said, he's just picking out a part of it. But Medrash Rabbi Parashat Zu. Daya la'arla ad kan. It's enough. Arla went from all of mankind till here. No more Arla. Vidaya, and then there's a second aspect. Vidaya la Milah. Daya means enough, and no more. La Milah shadei aguma ad kan. That Milah should be aguma. Maybe the proper translation would be forlorn. That it should be, pushed to the side. That Bris Milah. That the Milah should be forlorn and forgotten. No, now it should come out to the open adkan. So we see that there's two aspects. One, no more arla, and two, the bris milah. Okay, no more arla on the Jewish people. Okay, so from this, we got this beautiful yesod, and this is true. These two levels of many things that we do. We have leis asay and asay, and the removal. The Jewish people, our completion and our kedusha comes, as Rashi explains in Parashas Kedoshim and elsewhere, that actually separating ourselves from impurity is our ticket to spirituality, and it's not one thing divorced to the other thing. We can't just be Jewish people that are sunken in depravity and impurity, and at the same time we're davak b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we have this covenant and spirituality and loftiness. We can't have one without the other. There's the removal of the arla and taking away the tumah, and then we're ready for the ice bris that can connect Kadosh Baruch Hu with Klal Yisrael in every generation. And okay, now he's going to go to another medrash, and often what the Beis HaLaivi will do for us is he'll take a medrash, and we don't see what's the connection. The medrash is bringing together several things that don't have any seeming correlation with each other, and now he puts them together and he says, look, it makes so much sense. What's the medrash grouping these together? What's the connection? Okay, so Mayafis means how beautiful. Klal Yisrael, it's referring to Klal Yisrael. Umana Amt, and how sweet. Okay? Mayafis b'klayim, Umana Amt b'tzitzis. Now we're going to find a group of like pairs, and let's see what the pairs do with each other. How wonderful Klayim, Umana Amt b'tzitzis, and how wonderful that Klal Yisrael is Klayim. Klayim is that we don't. One type of klayim is in garments. It's called shatnez, we're more familiar with. Not mixing semer or pishtim yachtav, the wool and the flax, the linen together. Okay. And then, manam betzitzis, how wonderful that we have a mitzvah that we put on a four-cornered garment, we put the fringes, the tzitzis. Now another one, that's one pair. How wonderful, how beautiful. Arla, 3 years we don't eat the new fruit, and then the 4th year is called Neter Vai. You take the food up to Yerushalayim, like you do by Meiser Sheni, and you eat it in Yerushalayim, or if you can't do that, you redeem it, and then you take the money up to Yerushalayim and buy food there to eat B'Kedusha in Yerushalayim. Okay, so that's 3 years of Arla, it's called. That, by the way, it's the same word. Arla and Arla of the removal of the foreskin, it's called Arla. And then the Arla that's also were separated from eating the fruit for the first 3 years of the tree is also called Arla. The 4th year, Revai, like Revi, is Neter Revai, and Neter as a young sapling, and Neter Revai is the 4th year. You take that up, and that you could eat, but you only eat it the Kedusha in Yerushalayim. Ma Yafis b'Milah, u'mana amt b'Priya. How beautiful Klal Yisrael has Milah, u'mana amt, and how noyim and sweet it is that the Klal Yisrael, we have Priya. He says that's the correct girsa. Okay, now we'll skip the parentheses. Priya means like we said, the second step of the Bris Milah. Amar HaMedrash. So that was 3 groups, right? The first one, Klayim and Tzitzis. The second one, Arlo, Neter, and Vai. And the third one was Milah and Priya. Amar HaMedrash Shnei Dvarim. Mayavis b'Klayim. Taziris mishatnes usor meira v'hetel me'amaguneh. The first thing is we don't wear what we refrain from. We don't mix shatnes, Semra and Pishtim together. That's something that's negative that we're removed from. The Amar Aid, Hashem gives us something to elevate us, to remind us of the mitzvahs. The Sadin B'tzitzis, Umana'am B'tzitzis. Sadin B'tzitzis. Yesh B'zeh Aid Mitzvahs Asay, B'kum Asay, V'yisav Es Milah Kedusha. Okay, so that's the second darga, degree. Maybe it's the same word, darga and degree, who knows? But a little bit different. And Mayofis, and then Umanu Amt, even sweeter, V'yisav Es Milah Kedusha, the clients. So not only we don't wear the Tzemer or Pishtim Yachta, but we have the tzitzis. V'amar Oid, Mayofis Ba'arla. The first 3 years were separated, were removed, totally removed. Arla. Shal Shanim Asur B'Achila, you can't eat that fruit, even Asur B'Anah. Usur Meira, Umanu Amt, and then the second level, B'Neter Avoid. Okay, now we're going to the second page. Now the 4th year, that instead of just being negative, now it's the opposite. Now the fruit is holy, and we take it, we don't eat in Yerushalayim. So what was totally until now were forbidden from, now Kedusha, that Hashem gives a Haisavas Milah added level and Kedusha, and that's the 4th year. We take it pre Kodesh Hilulim, we take it and we Mishabech Kodesh Baruch Hu in Yerushalayim. And the 3rd one is ours that we're getting to Mayafis B'Milah V'Hu, and then it says Mayafis B'Milah U'Mana Amt B'Priya. So what is the Milah and the Priya? So the Milah is the first step. That's the Chitach. Mayafis b'Milah V'Hu Chitach. Through that, we're getting the first level. Removal of the imperfection, the Mum. The Nasis Yafeh B'Lai Mum. And we become Yafeh. And then Umana Amt. And then the extra level of the Imos, of not just removal of the imperfection, but there's a certain refinement that's coming, the Ne'imos, the Priya, the Bezat, the Ma'asev Milah Kedusha Yisera. And that's what we see, these 2 dargas that Klal Yisrael is getting, and all, like we saw from the Zohar, such a big deal in Shemayim over this as well. And if we gather here, and then Shemayim and Shemayim gather. Vayinod B'Zer Kodesh Parshas Emor, and he brings another raya. Okay, interesting, what another correlation. It doesn't go into the explanation of this, but on Pesach we have 2 things. What do we have? 1, no chametz, hashpas hasoor, get rid of the chametz, the negative, and then we eat matzah, exactly, and that's a mitzvah and a kedusha. Pasuk of Arba, also mashma gamkin, the chitach upriya im shnei bechinas, hachitach bechinas hashpas hasoor. The Zohar connects the getting rid of the chametz. It's like getting rid of the arla, Priya in bechinas achilas matzah. That's like the extra degree of the eating of the matzah. And by the way, it's not just the Zohar that connected, but it's well known that the Psukim say that somebody who's an Orel can't eat from the Korban Pesach. He doesn't attend the Seder, the Orel. And not only he doesn't, but his father or his owner, if he's an Evet, the owner can't even eat from the Korban Pesach till his servants have the Bris Milah and his children have Bris Milah. Yes.
In this case, two things are being removed. In the case of matzah, one thing is removed and one thing is added.
Right. But the interesting thing is that even by matzah, really what's going on is that there's the absence of any leavening process. Now, it's true that the mitzvah, the matzah that we have by the Seder, that we have a mitzvah to eat, is called shmur matzah, and there's a shimur l'shma that it's guarded for the sake of the sanctity of the mitzvah of matzah. But even that, what's being done for the sake of the sanctity of matzah is guarding it from no leavening. It's still, there's no negative extra level of removal from the leavening. There's an actual, not just that it wasn't leavened, but it had a shimur from leavening, that it was guarded from. So this is a special connection that Kadosh Baruch Hu has with us, that we understand Bris Milah much better. His halach lefanai v'hayei tamim. And now the Beis HaLaivi. Now as you see, many of these things could be, if you want to stay over, let's just say, I'm just giving an example to your family of a part of this. You don't have to say a whole shtickle Torah from the Beis HaLaivi of all the aspects. That there's a Zohar, and then there's a Rayam Himna, and Parshas Tazriah, and then there's a Medrash in Parshas B'Shalach, and a Medrash in Parshas Tazriah, and a Medrash in Parshas Lech Lecha. Many of these could stand on their own, and they complement each other. Like, there's a pasuk, is halach lefanai v'yei tamim. That's one aspect. And then, v'etna brisi v'ni v'nechem. So that's another aspect that I'm giving, besides v'yei tamim, that you're being complete, and your removal of this ra, which we saw from the Zohar, isn't just the removal of a physical ra, but on high, in Shemayim, it's being removed from Knesset Yisrael, this imperfection and association that the Goyim have, Kikol Goyim Arelim. And then, there's the second, Nabrisi ben Yevenechem, you have this covenant. Now, he goes on to one more level of this pasuk, to explain this pasuk, this one pasuk that we're focusing on. Vazeh yesh lefarish pasuk his halach lefanai v'hayei tamim, which is the first aspect, and two, v'etna brisi beini u'beinechem. Okay, hischel hakol b'lashon sivur. If you look, the beginning of the pasuk is saying a command, lashon sivur. He's telling Avram his halach lefanai v'hayei tamim. V'sayim ha-pasuk b'lashon lehaba v'etna brisi beini u'beinechem. It's a lashon asid that Hashem says, and then I will give my bris between you and he says, and like many times in Medrash, it could be explained in other ways, but he's saying, according to everything that I said, you understand that there's two aspects here, and he's going to add on another level here, based on the Gemara in Yevamos, which is very interesting. There's a mandamar in the Gemara in Yevamos, Fine Aleph, that says that Avram Avinu was not given the mitzvah of Priya. That was only given later. Okay, and in the times of Yeshua, that's when it was given. Tosafos asks, so you can't give mitzvahs later on after Matan Torah. Tosafos says really it was halach l'Moshe Sinai. It was given by Har Sinai, and we only find it written down in Tanakh in the times of Yeshua, when they did the Bris Milah, when they entered into Eretz Yisrael, and then brought the Korban Pesach and did a Bris Milah at that time. But anyway, the point is that the second aspect of Bris Milah wasn't commanded to Avram Avinu. Taisa says that Avram Avinu did it anyway, because Avram, even what he wasn't commanded, the mitzvahs he kept and we find in Chazal that Avram kept all the Torah before it was given even. But okay, so now we have this one lashon tzivoy and one lashon asid.
So he did Priya as a voluntary.
He did right, exactly. He did it as a voluntary aspect that he wasn't commanded in. Which is very interesting. Okay, let's leave that for a second. Let's see what the Beis Levi says here. His chagat lashon tzivoy ve'tamim shayim baz lashon haba ve'nebrisi b'ni yevenichem. To be Yavamas, Ratzah Gemara Leimer, the Gemara wants to say in Yavamas that Avram Avinu, by the way, the Gemara, the whole parak in Yavamas is this parak is called Ha'arel, and it's we learn many of the ideas of Milah from there, and it's connected to Korban Pesach because you can't eat Korban Pesach during Arel. The Yavamas Ratzah Gemara Leimer that Avram Avinu Loines Chaya V'Priya Ad Moshe Rabbeinu. That Avram Avinu wasn't obligated in Priya until the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. So the first one, Hashem's telling Avram, now you'll be tamim. Now you'll have the achituch. Now you'll be without the mum. That starts now, the obligation. Hashem promised him. Later on, Sheyigalu, Mitzrayim, and you'll become an Ummah, you'll become a whole nation, and you'll leave Mitzrayim. Milah, I'll add on an extra degree then, an extra level. Bris, and then I'll give them also the Bris, Okay, and now, and I think we ran out of time over here. We're finishing up here. So that was the second thing that Hashem said that I'll give you later. And now I'm not going to read any more inside at this point, but now until now it's all been drush. But it says based on this we could explain something halachic that we have a Rambam and just very briefly that not only according to the Rambam, not only the Jewish people are commanded in Bris Milah, but also the Bnei Keturah, the other children that Avram Avinu had were from Keturah, which Chazal tells us was Hagar when she came back later on after Sarah was Nifteres. They're also commanded in Bris Milah. Now, the thing is that if that's so, then the Mishnah Melech asked on the Rambam, but based on the Mishnah Nedarim, which we in the Gemara there we mentioned in Nedarim earlier was the source of the whole beginning of the two aspects. We saw the Yud Gimel Brisais were mentioned first, that it says that that how bad Arla is and called Goyim Arelim, right? And then the second level Yud Gimel Brisais. But it says there that if somebody makes neder that he's not going to get any benefit from any Arelim, any uncircumcised Arelim, right? So then he's also anyway. Basically, the basic breakdown isn't look whether he has a bris milah or not. If he has a bris milah, then I can get benefit from him, and if not, not. No, if you make a neder, you're not getting any benefit from Arelim. The breakdown is from Gentiles you can't get benefit from Jews you could. Now why? 1 second. The Gentiles go Goyim Arelim. Okay, so they're called an Arel even if they had circumcision. But I understand that could be for all the Gentiles who weren't commanded in circumcision, so they don't have any connection to it. But if the Bnei Keturah, they have a commandment to be circumcised, so they have just as much connection to Bris Milah as the Jewish people. So why are we calling them Arelim? But the answer is, says the Beis HaLaivi, that even though they have the aspect of Bris Milah, of Chitach, of getting rid of the Arla, of saying that they're not like the other nations, they're different, they're sons of Avraham Avinu, but nevertheless, they don't have the covenant of the Eis Kedusha that Klal Yisrael has, of Chosam B'Eis Bris Kodesh, that makes us, that we aren't called Arelim, that's where we have an extra degree. Only the Jewish people have that, and that's why only the Jewish people don't have that halacha of Arelim regarding the Darim like it says, Ki b'yitzchak yikar lecha zara, that the only ones, b'yitzchak, not the B'nai Keturah, from the other wives, the other children, only b'yitzchak yikar lecha zara, that this is the bris that Klal Yisrael has, Yashakayach. The Beis HaLaivi has much more beautiful things to say, but I think this stands on its own, what we said until now. Yashakayach.
That's good.